How's it going, guys? I hope you guys had a great week. So I'm back today, and this week is going to be full of reviews, guys. I'm going to have a lot of reviews coming, and today, of course, I want to weigh in on the PlayStation 5, actually give my impressions on the console. I've had the console for about a week and a half, I'd say. Been playing lots of games, checking out all the different features, and just getting my ideas down in terms of, what I think of it. So this is a deep dive review of the PlayStation 5. I'm going to be covering every element of the console, talking a little bit about some of the games that I've been playing as well. And I hope you guys find this video useful if you are on the fence or thinking about getting a console in the new year. So let's hopefully keep this nice and structured. So let's start off with the look and design of the console. I really like it. I really like the style of the PlayStation 5. I think it's very sleek. It's visually very, very striking compared to the more simplistic Xbox Series X. I will say that I was quite surprised by just how large the console was. It was a lot larger and heavier than I was expecting, especially when I was sort of lifting it out of the box when I first got it. But it's very easy to set up. It's really easy to set up the stand for the console, and also really easy to set it up initially when you're sort of signing in, installing the update, connecting it to your PSN profile if you have one, or starting one if you don't have one. It's really, really easy. The setup was really, really straightforward. Because it's such a big console, one of the major reasons for that is because of the fans on the back of the console, and they do a very, very good job of keeping the console cool and quiet. It has multiple USB ports. I think it's got three, one on the front and two on the back. These are USB 3.0 ports. It connects via HDMI, also has an Ethernet port as well. And yeah, it's just very simple, very, very nice. Now, I bought the disc version of the console because I always like the option to be able to buy games on a disc as opposed to digitally. And it's been great. The disc reader's been fine. I've not had any issues. I know a lot of people with the console have had some problems, particularly when it comes to the console being in rest mode. But thankfully, touch wood, I've not had any issues. The console just runs really, really quietly. In fact, it's really quiet, and it's such an improvement over the PlayStation 4, because that console just sounded like a fighter jet every time it was playing it. So yeah, it's much improved, which is great. If you're like me and you're a content creator and you're wanting to record commentary or record your reactions or live stream, you don't have this annoying buzzing sound in the background, which you did have on the PlayStation 4. So it is really, really nice. So let's talk a little bit about the UI, because it has been revamped. It has been updated for the PlayStation 5. It is very different to the PS4, and I actually really, really like it. Now, one of the biggest criticisms against it is the fact that you cannot sort of install your own themes. So themes are not a thing on the PlayStation 5, and that's because when you move to each game or each area, it has its own dynamic kind of wallpaper and sound effects and animations, and I don't really miss the themes. I quite like the new style. I think it's clean, it's sleek. It really does feel like an improvement over the PlayStation 4. I really like some of the choices that they've made. So they decided to split the gaming and media sections of the console, and I really, really like this choice because you can choose what you want to focus on. It does mean that your home screen doesn't feel cluttered with icons that you maybe don't want to use at the time, and it's really, really nice. It's also got an improved access to the PSN store, so you don't have to separately log in to the PSN store. You just flick to the left, select the store, and it comes up straight away. And I really, really like it. I think it's much easier to navigate the PSN store compared to the PS4. It's much easier to find your subscriptions, to look at special offers or discounts, to look at the monthly PSN games. It's also really, really easy to access your library of games, which do come across onto the PlayStation 5. If you log in with your PSN profile, all your library, all your games are there, just waiting for you to re-download them. So that's really, really nice. And most of the games, to be fair, in my library do seem to be backwards compatible with the PlayStation 5, and the PS5 does do a very good job of highlighting the games that are not backwards compatible, because when you do move over these games there is a little symbol and it does tell you that you have to play this title on the PS4. But I've got to say, even going through my library, and I have a pretty big library, a massive backlog of games, there were not many titles in that library that were not compatible with the PlayStation 5. So that's really, really good to see. Really, really liked it. Obviously, if you come across onto the PlayStation 5, one of the coolest new things that you will get when you come over there is access to the PlayStation Collection. This is a special collection, I think about 18 games from last gen, and they include some incredible titles, really some must-play exclusives on the PlayStation 4, including God of War, also Uncharted 4 on there. There's lots on there. I'm a little bit sad because I didn't see Horizon Zero Dawn. I would have liked that on there. That would have been really, really cool. But still, there's a massive roster of games there. So if there are some games that you never got to play on the PlayStation 4, well, then you get access to them for free at the beginning of buying the console. So that's really, really good. You've got a roster of games there that you can just jump in and play, and they work really, really smoothly. You just click on it, purchase the game from the PSN collection, and then you can install it onto the hard drive. One other feature I do really like is the quick access bar. So if you press down the PlayStation home button, previously this would have taken you straight to the home screen on the PS4. Instead, this actually brings up a quick access bar, and that allows you to choose between different features. You can do this when you're on the kind of, the base home screen. You can do it in the middle of a game as well, and it allows you to sort of select different features like home switching, which means switching between different games. So you can switch to another game and load it up straight away. If it's installed in the console or you've got the disc in. Obviously notifications, you can check any updates that are installing, any sort of requests, friendship requests or party invites, anything like that. You can obviously go straight into your friendship list to see what people are playing, invite people to a party or to a game. There's a really cool music section now, which is really awesome, where you can actually, I think if you are on Spotify, it actually brings up some like albums and like soundtracks for some of the games that you're playing. So if you want to listen to them, you can do so, and that's really awesome. I really like that feature because a lot of games now have just incredible soundtracks. There's also an audio feature where you can adjust the headphone level or the audio level coming through, as well as your microphone, which you can adjust. There's an accessories option as well, where you can look at your controller and the battery life on that, anything else that's plugged into the console. There's profile, obviously, and then obviously there is the shutdown or rest mode options as well. What's really cool about this access bar as well is that you can actually customize it, which is really awesome. So you can choose which things you want to be on there as an option. You can get rid of some things and deselect them if you don't want them to be an option as well. But what I like is when you select on these, it doesn't just take you to a different page. It brings up like a little window which you can then access. So it just feels really sleek and really well designed. And yeah, I think this is probably one of the best UIs that Sony have had on their consoles. I really, really like it. So let's talk about the power of the console. So that solid state drive, the gaming performance, and of course the 3D audio, because I know a lot of you are very interested in that. So the SSD is a beast. It is so powerful, and it's a massive game changer. The console boots up pretty quickly. Games load extremely quickly, especially if they are PS5 exclusive games, and they've been really sort of fine-tuned for that console. Like Spider-Man and Godfall load up super quick within a few seconds. It's amazing. Fast travel in these games is almost instant. So when I was moving from point to point in like Miles Morales, it didn't even feel like there was any load time. It felt almost instantaneous, and that's amazing, especially when you're looking at big big open world RPGs, exploration. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works in Cyberpunk 2077. Of course, as part of the SSD, that means that if you die, respawns are really, really quick. And that, for me, that's a game changer for me. It makes a huge difference to your overall enjoyment and also your immersion in the game, because you don't feel like you've been broken out of it. But you also don't feel like you've been punished. Sometimes when you do die in games, if they have very long load times, that adds to your frustration and you feel that you've kind of been punished for dying, and you don't feel that way. So when playing Godfall, there are some really challenging bosses in there, and you do die a lot, you know, because it does feel like it has some Soulsborne elements to it, and obviously you're straight back in the action straight away, so you don't feel that frustration, you don't lose that rhythm that you built up. And oh my god, the respawns are going to make just such a difference. Both Godfall and Miles Morales, in terms of performance, both games have been incredibly smooth. I've not had any issues in terms of like technical issues or anything like that. In most of these games at the moment, you can choose between two modes in the game. So you have a performance mode and a resolution mode. The performance mode there obviously prioritizes frames per second. So if you want a guaranteed buttery smooth 60 frames per second with 4K, but maybe not all the bells and whistles like, you know, dynamic gliding, ray tracing, then performance mode is very much for you. For Godfall, I think performance mode 60 frames per second is the best way to go because it is the most responsive. But then if people really want to just see how beautiful a game looks, then you've got that resolution mode, and that gives you 4K, but it also has like ray tracing, dynamic lighting and textures, and it looks beautiful. I mean, Miles Morales looks just utterly gorgeous in resolution mode. It looks incredible. Let's talk a little bit about the 3D audio. So this, obviously, for this to work, you have to have your headphones plugged into the controller directly. Now, I didn't purchase the specific headphones for the PlayStation 5 yet. I am going to get them eventually, but I just didn't have the coin to get it from the start of the console coming out. But I have used my own headphones, and even with my own headphones, you really do feel that 3D audio, and it works great and it sounds great. When you go into the settings, you can actually adjust the audio. And they give you this sound of like running water, and they ask you to adjust the level until it sounds like the water's really close to you at the right level. And that's very smart because people obviously have different ways of hearing, and it's very, very cool. Now, I hear that in Demon's Souls, the 3D audio is amazing because you can hear if people are attacking from, you know, the left or the right or above or behind you, and that's really, really cool. And yeah, but the quality is great. So obviously, as a content creator, one of the biggest interests I had in the PlayStation 5 and its improvements was in terms of capturing and broadcasting, live streaming, and using it as a live streaming platform. One of the biggest criticisms I had of the PlayStation 4 was to do with this element. The capturing in PS4, the quality of captures was always really, really poor. You could only capture sort of the last 15 to 30 minutes. It maxed out at like, I think 720p, and it didn't look great. It always looked a little bit sort of not blurry, but just not as crisp, not as good. And of course, with the broadcasting features, the broadcasting UI was just really god awful. So if you wanted to see viewers' comments, you had to have this really horrible UI where the gameplay was like in the smaller box with the comments down the right hand side, and it would only stream at 720. And it was really hit and miss. Well, I am happy to say that the PlayStation 5 massively improves in this feature. It's probably one of the biggest improvements, but there are some issues I do have as well, which I will touch upon. So you can capture gameplay footage in 4K, in 1080p, in 60 frames per second, whatever you want to, which is really awesome. You have a create button on the controller that you press, and that brings up a little bar, and you can pick and choose between capturing, taking a screenshot or capturing footage. You can capture footage that has happened previously, but you can actually start recording from a certain point. So that's really awesome. If you're wanting to capture footage, for like an hour or so, you can do that, and just start recording. And there's a little countdown thing that pops up to let you know that you're actually recording that footage on the system. The video quality and the sound quality, particularly on the 4K, is fabulous. It's almost as good a quality as the game. In fact, I would say it is as good a quality as the game that you're actually playing. The only issue that I do have is when you are obviously trying to copy that footage to an external hard drive, which you can plug into the PlayStation 5 through the USB port, there seems to be a massive issue with transferring files that are too large, especially if they are done in 4K, and you keep getting this error code which pops up which says you can't copy the media. This error code is called CE110211-6 or something. I figured it out, and it seems to be the length of the footage. So what I worked out is if you want to be able to transfer these files across without any editing or splitting, you have to capture no more than 10-minute video if you're trying to capture it in 4K. So that means you have to keep stopping and starting the footage, which is kind of irritating, kind of annoying. And then of course, if you do have a long video footage, then you've got to split it down and use the edit function to split that video down. Another big issue I do have as well is at the moment the format of these videos seems to be locked in on WebM format, and that's not a very accessible format because it doesn't work with a lot of editing software. So Vegas Pro, for example, doesn't recognize it. So you then have to use a video conversion software to convert that into the more accessible MP4. Now, the console did have MP4 as an option, as a format, and you could switch between them, but that seems to have mysteriously disappeared. And I have heard through the grapevine that is because of some issues. It was causing some problems, some glitches, some crashes, I think. So I think they've taken it out, and maybe they'll reintroduce it later on. But I certainly hope that this is something that they do fix, because it would be nice just to start the footage recording and then not have to worry about it. And for those people that don't have a PC or can't afford to, say, get a capture card like Elgato, this is a very good option to capture some really good quality footage if you wanted to cut that together and edit that together. So yeah, that is one of the issues. Let's talk a little bit about the broadcasting and live streaming. It's extremely simple to do. In fact, it is so easy to use and really intrinsic. You obviously link to your YouTube or Twitch channel, whichever one you want to stream on. You can actually choose the quality of your stream as well very easily. From 1080p 60 frames per second is the highest that you can stream at 1080p 30 frames, 720 60 frames, and 720 30 frames per second. So you do have those options there, depending on very much on the power of your internet, the level of your internet. Of course, there's the PlayStation HD camera, which you can use, but sadly the PS4 camera is not compatible, so you will have to get the PlayStation 5 camera, which is kind of annoying, if people do have that PS4 camera. You can also choose the style of camera that you want. So there are different options in there, including chroma. So if you have a green screen and lighting, you can actually introduce a chroma effect over the top to give you a little bit of a green screen effect. But I've tried it on mine, and honestly speaking, it's not been great in terms of quality, and it doesn't seem to get rid of all of the green screen. I don't know if it's something to do with my lighting. I'm not sure. Something to do with the camera, but that's something I'm going to have a look at most definitely. But you can also freely choose where you want to place that camera, and that's really easy to do as well. One of the biggest improvements though in terms of streaming is most definitely the introduction of overlays for chat and stream updates. This is a frigging game changer for me. I love it. So if people comment on your video, rather than having that god awful template that you had on the PS4. Instead, people's comments will just pop up in the bottom right or bottom left, wherever you place that overlay. Their comments will pop up in like little notification things with their comment on there, so you can actually see it on the screen while you're playing. And that's really nice, because if you are streaming and you've got it on two monitors, it's sometimes hard to keep up with the chat when it's in a second monitor, to the right of you. It is really, really difficult. So it does make that a lot easier. And you do also get game, stream updates in terms of how many people are viewing, and that kind of thing. So that's really, really awesome. Still doesn't seem to support notifications of things like when people like subscribe or donations or anything like that. It still doesn't seem to be connected to, say, Twitch or YouTube in that way that, software like Streamlabs is very connected to that. But it is still a massive, massive improvement. Now, the quality of the streams themselves, it does vary, and it does very much depend on your internet connection and also on the game that you are playing. I tried streaming both Spider-Man Miles Morales and also Godfall. Spider-Man was definitely the best quality in terms of the stream. It did have the occasional pixelation, especially with the camera, but generally speaking, it was still pretty good quality stream. It was okay, but Godfall really did struggle for me, particularly when playing the game in 60 frames per second, because there's so much action going on in that game, and there are so many particle effects and things like that. It was just too much to keep up with. So when I watched my stream back later on, it definitely did seem, highly pixelated, especially in terms of my camera. So I think it does definitely depend on the game, and obviously your internet will really be a factor there. But you can experiment with the different levels in terms of what level you want to stream at, and maybe you might choose 720p 60 frames per second for something like Godfall. So it'll be interesting to see how it works with FPS titles like Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm definitely going to experiment with it when that game comes out. Let's talk a little bit about the DualSense controller, because this also for me is a big game changer. This is probably one of the best features of the PS5. It is Sony's best controller yet, without a doubt. It feels great to hold. It's so comfortable to hold, and it has a really, really nice weight to it. One of the biggest criticisms I've had with, say, Xbox's controller or even Nintendo's Pro controller is the weight to them doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you can have controllers that don't have any weight and they feel almost weightless, and it doesn't feel right. The controller for the PlayStation 5 is perfectly weighted, and it's really, really good. The thumbsticks, are great, and the adaptive triggers as well, they're really comfortable, nice texture to them as well. So it's really, really good. The features of the controller, though, are really what sets it apart and what kind of makes it that next gen that we're looking for. So when you buy the PlayStation 5, you do actually get access to Astro's Playroom, which is a free game on the console, and it makes brilliant use of the controller's DualSense rumble features, the motion control, and the adaptive triggers. It is incredible. I'm going to do a full review of Astro's Playroom because I think the game deserves it. And if you've got a PlayStation 5 and you haven't played Astro's Playroom, check it out, because you will get a sense of where Sony's going with their controller. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the controller in here, because I'm going to go into detail in that review on Astro's Playroom, which should be up within a day or so. And it's so good. I mean, it is so sensitive and subtle and so finely tuned. It's incredible. I mean, you can even feel raindrops, and the adaptive triggers are amazing, particularly when you're sort of doing FPS sections or flying in a rocket or something like that. It's just so good. Oh my god, the controller is utterly incredible, and it really does add to that immersion, and that is definitely what Sony is going for. What I will say for the controller, and still one of the biggest criticisms I still have, is generally the battery life. This is one of the issues we had with the PS4 controller, was that controller just ran out of life so quickly, and you had to constantly plug it in. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's been massively improved, in terms of the PlayStation 5. I did sort of measure it, and for the PS5 controller, if you're not really using the DualSense functions heavily, then you probably get about 10 to 12 hours worth of gameplay in the battery life for the controller, which isn't terrible. That's still fairly okay. But if you are using the DualSense functions, I did notice when I played Astro's Playroom that my battery on my controller would run out. It would die a lot quicker. So obviously, yeah, they are using up that battery life there if you are using all of those features. It is an option though to turn it off, so if you don't want to have those features, you can turn it off, and that will make the controller last a lot longer. Let's finish off by talking about some of the games on launch. Obviously, we've got Spider-Man Miles Morales, Godfall, Demon Souls, Astro's Playroom, and also Bugsnax is a free game this month as well. Haven't played Bugsnax yet, don't know what to expect from that game, but I will be checking it out. Haven't played Demon Souls because I'm not really a big Dark Souls kind of player, but I've heard incredible things of the Demon Souls game. I've heard it looks stunning. The 3D audio is incredible, as is the DualSense and the adaptive triggers. So I've heard that's really good. But I've been playing a lot of Astro's Playroom, Godfall, and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and having a really, really good time with it. Now, I think one of the biggest criticisms against Microsoft and Sony is their launch lineup. I don't have a massive issue with Sony's launch lineup. I think it's actually a lot better than Microsoft's launch lineup. There are a couple of exclusive titles that you can only get on the PlayStation 5, and the good quality games. They're really, really good quality games, and they do a good job of showcasing the console and what promise the console has going forward. But next year should be an incredible year for Sony, particularly when we are looking at the new Ratchet and Clank, which I can't wait for, the new Horizon Zero Dawn, the new God of War. Oh my god, there's so much coming, and I'm really looking forward to it. And then of course, yeah, you've got that PlayStation collection with those 18 games there that you can play as well if you haven't already played them. So there is plenty to get stuck into on the console. So far, I'm really impressed with the PlayStation 5. I'm really, really enjoying my experience with it. Thankfully, I've not had any issues, technically speaking. I'm hoping that's going to continue, but I'm really looking forward to the future, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Sony has to offer with games coming up next year and subsequent years after. So those are my thoughts on the PlayStation 5, and that's just my deep dive review on what I thought of the console. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have got yourself a PlayStation 5 and managed to get yourself a console, congratulations, because that's quite hard right now. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, what you think of the console, what games you're playing on it. Let me know as well where your thoughts are on the console, and let me know if you're going to be picking up one and when you're thinking of getting one next year and what you're looking forward to checking out. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys are having a great week, of course. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye guys.